So that was Nardis by the Tony Rice Unit with Todd Phillips on bass. Is that Sam Bush on mandolin?
It was Mike Marshall,
Oh, Mike Marshall. Okay.
according to YouTube, where I looked looked it up. Yeah.
There you go.
Did you guys know you were trailblazing?
No, we were just doing what we
Right.
do.
Right, you were just trying to play cool music that you liked.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I hear such a huge, from just Nardis, I could hear that whole new classical influenced kind of new vocabulary in the newgrass thing that everybody's doing. I mean, this is like everybody, and it seems to really come from here. Am I right?
That's what they say. Yeah, I mean, this was
Right, it's a
1970
timbral
something,
thing,
you
yeah.
know, before a lot of those
It's
guys.
a tonal thing.
Chris Thiele was probably, I don't even know if he was born yet. So yeah,
But the way like you guys are sliding into notes and stuff that ordinarily wouldn't be anywhere near bluegrass, right?
yeah, we
And,
broke rules. You know, I was thinking during our little
cool.
break just now too. We were not only going to the record store and coming back with stacks of LPs at midnight and staying up all night listening to them. We played at this place called the Great American Music Hall,
Oh, yeah.
and we had the opportunity to see and meet all these people like Stefan Grappelli, Oscar Peterson, Bill Evans. I saw a duet night with McCoy Tyner and Bill Evans, you know.
Wow.
Well, not playing. Well, they did maybe play together at the end, but two different trios, you know. Mingus, I mean, you name it. All these guys were still alive, and they knew us so well at the Great American Music Hall because it was kind of the Grisman Quintet heyday. We just walked in, you know, like it was a local bar almost, and could meet, you know, see and meet and go backstage with all these people. So, yeah, we were heavily influenced.
Well, I think also, one thing that just listening to that cut is that's a great choice because of the kind of bluesy sound that Nardis has, and when you hear Tony playing the melody in that gorgeous tone he has on his guitar, and you're thinking to Miles's trumpet. I mean, this is a big shift to have a bluegrass guitar player playing trumpet.
Yeah.
And there's kind of a Middle Eastern kind of thing with
Right.
with the flat two pitch in there.
Yeah, yeah. And it's fairly simple. It's a simple melody. Miles, like you said, you know, sparse. Like we couldn't handle bebop. We weren't smart enough for that. But, you know,
But why can you play Spain? Why is Spain in the repertoire then?
well, our bass player Bill Amotnik brought that to us, and we just thought it would work, you know. So we went for it. That was a lot of work for us, you know. That was.
I bet.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a lot of work for anybody.
Yeah.
I'm never sure why anybody wants to call that tune. It's like only Chick Corea should play
Yeah.
that. It's so intensely arranged, right?
Yeah, yeah. And we hadn't really done that much. I mean, we were used to playing tunes that, you know, you play the head, everybody takes a solo, you play the last head, and you're done. So yeah, that was a big arrangement and great challenge. It was great, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, great stuff. And also, a nice step from, the Chic of Araby to Nardis, and then we're going to be moving on to some more jazz a little bit later, where the line is not so much bluegrass now, but again, still rooted in one of the things I was explaining to Timo earlier when we were talking about one of the things, I was coming out of being a big jazz fan, if not a player, and it was so exciting for me that these two worlds that I was loving so much, the newgrass, bluegrass thing, and the jazz was suddenly melded here, like on Nardis. It's like, oh, wow, these two worlds are finally, my favorite music is connecting,
Yeah.
And also, I think one of the other things that you seem to really like is like things like organ and stuff that's ECM and a little bit more atmospheric sounding. You know how jazz sometimes loses its way with how the music sounds emotionally or timbrally sometimes. I mean, newer jazz players, and you're not painting pictures as much as you're like blowing scales and getting through the changes like a motherfucker, right?
Yeah, and also one of the things was that I explained to Timo that just it's a subtle observation. I know some jazz people argue with me, but the attention, because it's not focused on super advanced complex harmony yet. The attention to the tone of the instruments was so big, that so that bluegrass players will tell you that's a pre-war Martin. I can tell from two notes the instrument, or that's a 20s Gibson. That's a Lloyd Loar. No other mandolin has that sound.
Yeah.
And I never found that sensitivity to tone as detailed in a lot of the jazz music.
Well, except probably the jazz that I know maybe me and I know Tony was more drawn to are people with that kind of I don't know, that massive, just sound like they got massive hands, like Oscar Peterson, McCoy Tyner, Coltrane, as opposed to, like a delicate, more like a Pat Metheny or something that's more academic,
right.
But, these guys that play like a hoss, like Oscar.
Also, yeah, there's some twang still in the playing, right? Like,
yeah,
Django's got all that twang in his guitar playing.
Yeah,
and the music has the blues in it. It has the people's music in it, so to speak. Whereas some of the other music is like more pastel and pretty.
Yeah. Django meant business, right? Like that. Sounds like he's this.
It's twangy as hell.
Like, how does that guitar even survive that? What he's doing,
Right.
Yeah.
And he's doing it with two fingers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, also, for me, coming out of listening to, John McLaughlin, Mahavishnu Orchestra, just, shredding and with a really aggressive attack, almost violent at times. And then hearing these bluegrass guys ripping it up. And, hearing Tony, blazing on that guitar and David on that mandolin, it was exciting. It wasn't, there was an energy there that was powerful.
Yeah.
And so, there's a warmth to the recordings and how those instruments are played, but there was also that power. And so for people kind of into, the hot guitarist, who's the badass guy, it was again kind of wow, these bluegrass guys are kicking ass,
And it's also very transparent. There's no drums, and so they're keeping the time too.
It's strange to play with people that are used to playing with drummers.
Leaning on them.
Yeah, like sometimes my gig as a bass player is much more difficult if they don't have a little bit of bluegrass experience. It's strange,
Right.
Or like Django, he had to hire three rhythm guitar players just to pound that rhythm, so he could still rise above it.
Yeah.
You got nowhere to lean. You gotta have it inside, like a momentum of your own.
Now I have another question for you. What about how Coltrane's music starts to be polytonal and out? That seems to be something that the string players are not interested in doing.
Maybe. Well, because we're playing such, depends on the tune, but, bluegrassy like instrumentals are pretty straight harmony.
Exactly.
It'd be kind of hard
So you guys are it stops at Love Supreme, so to speak.
Yeah. Of course, I mean, I got a palate for all that. Even if you can't use it every day, playing at a bluegrass festival, right. It's like learning to eat some kind of strange foods and stuff, I think.
Now, I would be super keen on some new innovator taking your cue with what you guys did with the jazz that you loved and melding it with bluegrass, and then now they're melding it with these sort of new classical sounds, and this new classical vocabulary goes in there. That's just awesome too. Now, where's the Stravinsky of the newgrass? Where's the late Coltrane of the newgrass?
Well,
that would be
for
me. That would be tremendous.
There's some pretty atonal stuff here and there. There's a fiddle player named Michael Cleveland, who's also blind, super strong player. Like, you can hear him
prerequisite
coming a mile away. Well, I don't know. But, part of it's just because
What was his last name again?
Cleveland. He's been playing since he was about a year old. I think that's it, because they just, guys like that spend their whole life doing nothing but that. And but he plays some pretty out there modes against pretty square chords. So. He's phenomenal.
He's coming up. He's coming up when we do our bluegrass violin and Also, he's recorded with Andy Statman, a mandolin player that does go to where you're talking about,
There you
Timo,
go,
and
yeah.
we'll be listening to them,
Nice.
in future episodes for sure. And we get some stuff later in this playlist that gets a little out. So let's keep rolling along here so we can get to some of that stuff.
All right.
But the next, as we're really trying to kind of cover the palette of the players and stuff, the next guy is Russ Barenberg. And Russ kind of brings a little bit of a Latin flavor to some of the stuff
Yeah,
he does.
definitely.
A calypso
Yeah, for sure.
kind of thing. And also is a very kind of warm, tasty kind of player. He's not so much about the flash and the burning stuff. It's more kind of in the groove, in the pocket, and it's very sensitive kind of player. And so I thought it'd be nice to get one of his original tunes on a trio album he did with Jerry Douglas, the dobro player, who keeps coming up every 5 minutes on our on our Virtuoso show. He seems like he's everywhere. As I said to Timo, he's been on 800 records.
Yeah.
But and along with Edgar Meyer, one of the premier bassists in both the worlds of bluegrass and classical, and we'll be hearing a lot from Edgar in the future too. So here's a trio on a song by Russ Barenberg called "The Big Bug Shuffle."